Did, but so I don't remember how I knew I was going to see the Statue of Liberty, but I remember vividly at 7 years old, seeing it and reading about it and traveling through books and somehow knowing that I could really do that. And I think it's a great credit to the teachers that I had. I think that excellent teachers produce good students, and I feel blessed to have had really wonderful teachers, both black and white, that encouraged me. I was very active all through high school in civic and community service. Was a Girl Scout, which was a very big and important part of my development, and was a high school debater. And frankly, it was the debating that allowed me to get exposure outside of Alabama. Our debate coach was really very adamant that we compete not just statewide but also regionally. So for the first time, I got a chance to travel to Florida and to Mississippi and things like that through debate. So my childhood in Selma was really quite wonderful. I mean, I didn't realize that I was poor until I left Selma. I mean, I didn't realize that my parents were living paycheck to paycheck like most working families until I left Selma and had the experience of studying up north. But my childhood was in Selma, Alabama.
But you did leave Alabama to go to college. You have
did.
a very good education.
Yeah, I've been blessed.
How did that happen? How did a
Sure.
girl from Selma get to Princeton?
Sure. Well, I think that the values that were instilled in me very early on of hard work and personal responsibility and faith, I think that those were the values that really helped me, to go to a place like Princeton and not be intimidated and know that I could still compete. I was recruited to go to Princeton because of debate. An alum from Alabama saw a little article about me buried in the Montgomery Advertiser on lifestyle section and called up my guidance counselor and invited my mom and I to come and hear about Princeton. And frankly, I never thought about it. I mean, I knew I was going to go to college because it was important. My parents were first generation college educated. Both had gone to Alabama State. And so I knew I was going to go to college, but I just didn't know where. And frankly, it was a life-changing event. I mean, I had to both literally and mentally take the leap from Selma High School to Princeton. It was a mental and a literal leap. And I'm happy to say that I was very much prepared. I mean, I was not as exposed as some of the kids in my classroom to the classics. I mean, we didn't have reading lists that were as expansive as some of my classmates at Princeton, but we were, we had to write a senior thesis our senior year, and Ms. Hobbs made sure that we were well versed in the American classics, and I held my own. And the fact that this little girl from Selma, Alabama, could graduate with honors from Princeton, I think is a credit not just to me, but I think to the public school system that helped nurture me.
And Harvard Law after that?
Yeah, I had a chance to compete for a scholarship to study abroad at Oxford, and did 2 years at Oxford and got a master's degree in politics. I did actually political comparative politics. Believe it or not, when I first arrived in England, the hot topic was whether or not they would be electing their first black members of parliament. Now, this is 1987 in England that did not have legalized segregation, right, and didn't have formalized slavery like America. And yet, 1987 was the first time they had on the ballot 4 Afro-Caribbeans or Afro-Brits that had a chance to really win. And being from Selma, Alabama, I literally wrote them a note, 2 of them, and asked to volunteer on their campaigns, and got a response from both of them. So I worked on the campaigns of both Diane Abbott and Paul Boateng. They became the first black members of parliament elected in England in '87, and it was a great experience. And so I wrote my master's thesis on comparative American-British politics, and had a chance to actually turn my research into a book. So after that, I went to law school, and the law school experience was quite, after the English experience, which frankly, much to my mom's chagrin, I think I learned a lot more outside the classroom with such a great international blend of people. I met people from Sri Lanka and people from, Singapore and people from, it was a very eye-opening experience for me, having grown up in Selma where everything was black and white, to realize that life is full of shades of gray. And it was a great opportunity.
And you've come back to Alabama. Your website describes you as a public finance lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
What is a public finance lawyer?
Sure. My background is in finance. I spent for the last 15 years of my life helping finance public projects. So a public finance lawyer is a lawyer that represents local governments, local school boards, local water authorities, and they help them find resources to do capital improvement projects, to do public-private partnerships that would recruit industries, creating jobs. So I help raise money to do public projects, whatever those projects may be. My clients that I'm most proud of are really the clients that are in the 7th Congressional District, my home district. So the opportunity to represent my home city of Selma, or my home county, Dallas County. They were in need of upgrading their water system, which hadn't been improved in 50 years. Was leaking and was a public health hazard, actually. We were able to get them $3 million cheaply through some tax-exempt bonds and some federal grant money that we were able to get from rural development, the Department of Agriculture, rural development area. And combined, we were able to get them money to improve their water system, tangibly bringing about, better quality of life for Dallas County people, but more importantly, new industries came in, smaller industries into Craig Air Force Base, which created jobs for that area. So the other client base that I've been very proud to represent has been historically black colleges. When I came to Alabama, I came back home literally right after college and clerked for Judge Clement, and really enjoyed the Alabama bar and was very close to joining the U.S. Attorney's Office until I got my first loan repayment coupon, which was $141,000. And while I was, my parents were very proud of me for going to those schools. They were teachers and did not know how I was going to pay back that kind of money. So I began my formative legal experience in New York, and when I paid off my loans, I came back home. And I came back home leveraging that finance experience to really benefit underserved communities in Alabama. It was what I wanted to do, and I'm very pleased that my law partners, even though it was not profitable the first year, it became profitable. Let me choose the kind of clients I wanted to go after. And so I represented Alabama State and helped them raise $150 million actually, to upgrade the campus improvements. We're now building a new student center. We're building several new dorms, which hire subcontractors in Montgomery, Alabama, plumbers and electricians, and create jobs and also improve the quality of education for the students on Alabama State's campus. So Alabama State was my first big client, and they recommended me to Tuskegee and then Stillman. And I'm very, very proud of the base of clients that I've been able to have in the state of Alabama, and the public finance work that we've been able to do that have been creating jobs and better educating our children.